Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. One killed and one injured in police firing as protests against release of Kaveri water gets violent in Karnataka. Chief Minister calls emergency cabinet meet. Centre assures all assistance. Curfew in all 10 districts of Kashmir Valley to prevent any violence during Eid. Poonch encounter enters second night. 2 security personnel injured. First death due to chikungunya confirmed in Delhi. Over 27,000 cases of dengue reported through the country. 12,000 cases of chikungunya reported till August. Cessation of hostilities comes into effect in Syria. Humanitarian groups hope to make aid deliveries to worst-hit areas, especially Aleppo. Deepa Malik scripts history, becomes first ever Indian woman to win the medal at the Paralympics, bags silver in shot put event. Well, let's begin with our top focus on the bulletin this morning. Karnataka Chief Minister has called an emergency cabinet meeting in the wake of the violence following the release of Kaveri River water to Tamil Nadu. One person has been killed in police firing on Monday. Things went out of control after protests against the amended Supreme Court order for release of Kaveri water.
Curfew imposed in 16 police station limits in Bengaluru after protests against release of Kaveri River water to Tamil Nadu turned violent. One person was killed and another injured in police firing in Karnataka.
We will definitely appeal to supervisory committee. We will appeal to the Supreme Court once again. But I only appeal to people in Karnataka, people in Tamil Nadu to maintain peace and order.
The centre rushed 10 companies of Special Anti-Riot Paramilitary Force RAF to Karnataka following the violence. Prohibitory orders have been put in place in Bengaluru till September 14. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah wrote to his Tamil Nadu counterpart seeking protection of people from his state. Jayalalitha assured him of the safety and sought similar protection for Tamil-speaking people in Karnataka. This after Tamil Nadu vehicles were targeted in Bengaluru and similar violence against properties owned by Kannadigas was reported from Tamil Nadu.
ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಸಂತೋಷ್ ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಬ್ಬರ ಮೇಲೆ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕೇಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅವ್ರು ಯಾರು ಗಲಾಟೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಕೇಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಎರಡೂ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳು ಸೌಹಾರ್ದತೆ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂಡುದು. ನಾನು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜಯಲಲಿತಾ ಅವರು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಸ್ಪದ ಕೊಡಕೂಡದು, ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸ್ಪದ ಕೊಡ.
Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh called up Chief Ministers of both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and assured all central assistance. In Karnataka, 200 people have been detained in connection with the violence. Forces have been deployed at sensitive points, particularly where Tamil population and establishments are located. Violence flared up soon after the Supreme Court gave its amended order directing Karnataka to release 12,000 cusecs of water to its neighbouring state daily till September 20.
We thought that certainly the Supreme Court will send a team to see the situation there in the reservoirs, and they will collect the data of rains across Karnataka, especially in the Kaveri basin and all that. And then they will come to a conclusion. That is what we thought. But nothing of that happened.
In Delhi, the Kaveri Supervisory Committee also met but failed to arrive at a decision on the quantum of water to be released to Tamil Nadu and other states.
Committee was trying to reach to a conclusion, but both the states' chief secretary, namely Tamil Nadu as well as Karnataka, did not agree to a particular figure of release of water. As we were discussing and trying to reach to a figure which were acceptable to both the sides and which were also based on scientific facts, we found that the Supreme Court had given yet another interim order.
The war of words between leaders of the two states also escalated as the violence erupted.
The farmers of Karnataka will totally suffer this year. Even to take one semi-dry crop, whereas Tamil Nadu, under the garb of prescriptive right, they want to enjoy 3 crops.
During the time of argument on September 5th, I think, September 5th, when our advocate himself has undertaken that we are ready to, with a good gesture, we are ready to release 10,000 cushions of water, then entire situation will be changed.
And Karnataka, they must also think about our farmers. When Supreme Court says open the water, do you think Supreme Court doesn't know that how much of water storage Karnataka has? And they can give.
இது பற்றி ஒரு பேசுவதற்கு சர்வகட்சி கூட்டத்தை கூட்டியிருக்கிறார்கள், கூட்ட மறுக்கிறார்கள். சரி, ஏதோ அவரே நானே அறிவாளி என்று இருக்கலாம். நான் திட்டவட்டமாக தெரிவிக்கிறேன், நாடு கொந்தளித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இரு மாநிலங்கள் பற்றி எரிகிற.
The Karnataka Chief Minister has called an emergency cabinet meeting today at 11 a.m. in the wake of the violent fallout of the Supreme Court order. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, meanwhile, curfew has been imposed in all 10 districts of the Kashmir Valley on Eid. This is perhaps the first time that such a measure has been taken since militancy broke out. Meanwhile, the encounter in Poonch is still underway as police officers suspect presence of at least another militant.
Two security personnel were injured as the encounter between terrorists holed up in the under-construction mini-secretariat in Poonch and security forces entered the second night on Monday. 3 militants and a policeman were killed on Sunday, including a police officer.
2 militants have been eliminated. We have seen that, and there is resistance. There is still 1 militant, and we don't know. It could be more than that. The operation is on.
ईद भी है, बड़ा दिन भी है. अब उसी दौरान एक दिन पहले आना जो है ये साफ क्लियर है, बहुत क्लियर है कि यहाँ पे पीस, अमन और शांति में रुकावट डालना चाहते हैं.
Forces are doing a very commendable job, and the operation would be successful and would culminate successfully very soon. But what is even more gratifying is that the local population there has a very high morale, and they are absolutely in a cooperative mode.
पाकिस्तान की ये गंदी साजिश है, इस तरह ये नहीं होना चाहिए और इन बड़े बड़े त्योहारों में ये इस किस्म की हरकतें गुनाही नहीं होनी चाहिए.
Meanwhile, for the first time in over 20 years, the state government has decided to impose curfew across the 10 districts of the Kashmir Valley on Eid-ul-Azha as a measure against loss of life after the separatists called for a march to the United Nations office in the valley. This is for the first time since the onset of militancy that no Eid congregations will be held at the Eidgah and Hazrat Bal shrines. Army has been deployed at strategic locations and helicopters and drones will be used for aerial surveillance to ensure peace.
पिछले 2 महीने से यहाँ पे जो सख्ती है, जो किलिंग्स हुई हैं, हम उनके गम में शरीक हैं, तो हमें ये जो ईद है बड़ी सादगी से मनानी चाहिए.
यहाँ के जामे मस्जिद में अभी 2 महीने से नमाज भी नहीं हो रही है और क्या पता ईद के दिन कैसे हालात रहेंगे, और हम ये ईद बड़ी सादगी से मना रहे हैं.
हमारे बच्चे, हमारे जो भाई है भी अस्पतालों में पड़े हैं, तो हम घर में ईद मनाएंगे. ये ईद नहीं, ये बिल्कुल मातम रहेगा इस साल कश्मीर में.
The Jammu and Kashmir government has also ordered shutdown of internet and mobile services except of state-run BSNL for the next 72 hours as a precautionary measure. In a separate incident of violence, militants hurled a grenade at a police post in Anantnag district on Monday night, killing 1 civilian and injuring 10 people, including 3 policemen. The grenade exploded on a road at a time when people were busy doing last-minute shopping for Eid. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Jyoti Prasad Rajkowa has been sacked as governor of Arunachal Pradesh. A Rashtrapati Bhavan communique said President Pranab Mukherjee asked Meghalaya Governor V. Shanmuganathan to discharge the functions of the governor of Arunachal Pradesh in addition to his own duties until regular arrangements are made. Rajkowa was appointed the governor of Arunachal Pradesh on May 12, 2015. He was the first gubernatorial appointee of the Modi government. Last week, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh conveyed to the President that Rajkawa's continuance in the post had become untenable after the Supreme Court's observations against him over the dismissal of the Congress government in the state. Rajkawa had earlier refused to step down despite the central government asking him to put in his papers after the Supreme Court's strictures.
तो पहले ही हटा देना चाहिए था। इतनी देर इंतजार किया, ये कोई पता नहीं क्यों किया। शायद इसलिए क्योंकि जो भी उन्होंने किया था वो तो केंद्र की सरकार के कहने पे शायद किया होगा, तो इसलिए हटाना तो था ही। उनकी पोजीशन सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट के बाद बिल्कुल अनटेनेबल थी, तो इसलिए हटाया है, तो अच्छा किया है।
In case of Raj Khowa ji, the appointment was made by the BJP government only. And it seems that because they were not able to succeed in their sinister design of changing the government in Arunachal, now they are penalizing the governor.
Well, Union Cabinet on Monday approved the constitution of the GST Council, which will decide on the tax rate exempted goods and the threshold by November 22nd. The first meeting of the Council, to be chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, will be held on September 22nd and 23rd.
The Union Cabinet on Monday approved the constitution of the GST Council, which will decide on the rate of tax under the new Goods and Services Tax regime. It will be chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and comprise Minister of State for Finance in charge of the Revenue Department and comprise Minister of State for Finance and State Finance Ministers as members. Union Revenue Secretary will be the ex officio secretary to the Council but will have no voting rights.
The first meeting of 22nd and 23rd of September. So, as it looks so far, we are ahead of the time schedule. The main thing to be done now is to call as many meetings as possible of GST Council and try and sort out all the major issues.
The government is aiming to implement GST from 1st April 2017. It is looking at a 2-month period for discussion on major aspects of the GST by the Council.
With respect to the exemption limit or the rate structure or the model GST law or the principles that govern the place of supply rules, threshold limits or floor rates, whatever, all these decisions will be taken by the GST Council.
Meanwhile, the government is planning to introduce GST legislations, Central GST and Integrated GST, in winter session of Parliament in November. Since both the Houses of Parliament passed the bill unanimously in the monsoon session and many states ratified the GST, President Pranab Mukherjee gave assent to the bill. GST, which is being touted as the biggest tax reform since independence, will subsume excise and service tax and various other local levies including VAT and octroi. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Union Cabinet on Monday decided to raise buffer stock of pulses to 20 lakh tons. Now, the decision was taken at a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It said that specific variety of pulses, their respective quantities for the buffer stock and their procurement will be decided based on price and availability position, both domestic and global. Government agencies will now procure 10 lakh tons of pulses from farmers, while 10 lakh tons will be imported. Production of pulses had remained low in the past 2 crop years due to drought, resulting in spike of retail rates. However, production is expected to rise this year following good monsoon, high market prices and sharp increase in the minimum support price. Meanwhile, retail inflation eased to a 5-month low of 5.05% in August, helped by smaller rises in food prices, raising hopes of an interest cut in next month's policy review. The fall in food inflation and the fuel index dragged down the overall numbers to within the comfort zone of the central bank, which has targeted 5% inflation by March 2017. Economists had expected annual retail inflation to come in at 5.5% last month compared to 6.07% in July. On the other hand, industrial output contracted 2.4% in July from a year earlier, mainly dragged down by lower production of capital goods and consumer non-durables. It's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Tales that inspire.
Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the national capital reported its first confirmed chikungunya death on Monday. A 65-year-old man died of the mosquito-borne disease when he was brought to Sir Gangaram Hospital. His test for chikungunya came positive with high viral count, while 5 suspected dengue deaths and 1 suspected chikungunya death have also been reported from AIIMS this month. According to the hospital reports, the chikungunya death at the AIIMS took place in September, and 5 persons have also died of dengue this month. Chikungunya cases in the national capital has risen to over 1,000 this season, marking a jump of nearly 90% from its count last week. According to a municipal report released on Monday, 1,057 cases of this disease have been recorded till September 10th. However, hospitals in the city altogether are reporting much higher numbers. Dengue has affected more than 27,000 people and claimed 60 lives across the country, while over 12,000 cases of chikungunya have been reported till last month. Meanwhile, cracking the whip on dissidents within the party on Monday, the Aam Aadmi Party suspended its MLA Devinder Sherawat. The action comes after the party's national convener Arvind Kejriwal returned to Delhi, wrapping up his 4-day visit to poll-bound Punjab. The decision to suspend the MLA was taken by the disciplinary committee of the party's Delhi unit. Sherawat had earlier written to AAP national convener Arvind Kejriwal alleging exploitation of women by a few party men in Punjab. He had also spoken against the party leadership when Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav were shown the door last year. Sherawat is the 4th party legislator whose primary membership has been suspended after Pankaj Pushkar, Asim Ahmed Khan and Sandeep Kumar. Meanwhile, a cessation of hostilities has come into effect in Syria. US Secretary of State John Kerry said while the start of the ceasefire looked good, it was far too early to draw any kind of a definitive conclusion. Kerry, who had signed a deal with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Geneva, added it could be the last chance for peace in a united Syria. Meanwhile, with the cessation of hostilities, humanitarian groups are hoping to make and aid deliveries to the worst hit areas, especially the war-torn city of Aleppo.
Now, this renewed cessation of hostilities went into effect. The earliest reports are that there's some reduction in violence, as well as a few reports of fighting here and there, though it is far too early to draw any definitive conclusions.
As the sun sets in Syria on Monday, there is cautious optimism in the air, as a ceasefire has begun. The peace deal brokered by the US and Russia in Geneva calls for a halt to the violence between the Syrian regime and the rebel forces. The world, along with the Syrians, especially those living in the rebel-held areas, wait to see how long the fragile peace would last. And as the locals celebrate Eid today, they hope against hope.
والله احنا مع الهدنة
بس بدك تقول انه هالشيء كله مو زبط معنا يعني يوم إلك يوم عليك لا بصير شيء انه بصير هدنه بعد يومين صار ضرب علينا عم نموت فيها اهاليتنا اخواتنا كلهم راحوا
نحن مع الهدنه بس كل مره المسلحين ما بيطبقوا القانون وبضربونا يعني ما بنفذوا القرارات اللي بيتاخذوها وبضربونا يعني ما بتقيدوا بالهدنه اللي هن بيحكوا فيها وبنتمنى الامور تتحسن والله ينصر الجيش.
Everyone knows how fragile the break in violence can be. Just hours before the ceasefire, airstrikes continued to bombard opposition targets. Close to 100 people were killed in just last 2 days. And on Monday, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad made a visit to the former rebel stronghold of the Rajya, giving a defiant message to the country's opposition forces.
دولة عندما نأتي إلى هذه المنطقة فنعطي رسالة أيضا لهؤلاء بأن الدولة السورية مصممة على استعادة كل منطقة من الإرهابيين، على إعادة الأمن والأمان، على إعادة الإعمار، على إعادة البنية التحتية، على إعادة بناء كل ما هدم بكل معانيه البشرية.
At the moment, though, the ceasefire is a test of workable relationship between the US and Russia, who are on opposite sides of whom they support in the country's political regime. While Russia is Assad's ally, the US has demanded his departure from office. If the truce holds for 7 days, the US and Russia will carry out coordinated airstrikes on militant groups.
Возобновляется режим прекращения боевых действий. Для его соблюдения российской стороной выполнены все необходимые подготовительные мероприятия. В целях обеспечения режима прекращения боевых действий во всех сирийских провинциях.
The conflict in Syria, which began with an uprising against Assad, has raged for 5 years and claimed the lives of more than 250,000 people. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In more international news now, former British Prime Minister David Cameron has announced his resignation from his seat in Parliament with immediate effect. The news on Monday came nearly 3 months after Cameron stepped down from his job as the country's Prime Minister. Cameron said that he had told his successor, Prime Minister Theresa May, of his decision to stop representing his constituency, Witney, in Oxfordshire, to make way for someone who could concentrate on the area in central England. Cameron said that he did not want to be a distraction for new Prime Minister May. The ruling Conservative Party elected May to lead the country after Cameron resigned following his failed campaign to persuade voters to remain in the European Union in a June 23rd referendum.
And I've decided the right thing to do is to stand down as the Member of Parliament for Witney. There'll be a by-election. I'll give the Conservative candidate my full support. And I support Theresa May. I think she's got off to a great start. I think she can be a strong Prime Minister for our country. And I don't want to be that distraction.
Here's a roundup of the other international news in World Wrap. Hillary Clinton sought to draw a line Monday under the health scare rocking her White House campaign. Clinton assured her supporters that she was feeling fine and will soon return to the fray. Facing intensifying scrutiny about her health, the US Democratic presidential nominee will also make new disclosures of medical records and data. The Democrat was diagnosed with pneumonia after she fell ill at a 9/11 memorial event in New York. The Pentagon has said that a US airstrike killed Islamic State strategist Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, contradicting Russia's claim to have killed the militant. At the end of August, IS said Adnani had been killed in Aleppo province. The US then admitted targeting Adnani but stopped short of confirming his death. The killing was later claimed by Russia. Adnani was one of the IS group's most high-profile figures, with a $5 million bounty on his head. An Italian town heavily hit by last month's earthquake is taking legal action against Charlie Hebdo after it portrayed victims as pasta dishes. Amatrice, where most of the 295 victims lived, filed an aggravated defamation complaint against the satirical French weekly magazine. One of the images, labelled as lasagna, showed a stack of rubble with bloody feet emerging from it. Italian magistrates will decide whether the case can proceed. And now for news from the Rio Paralympics. India bagged a silver medal in the women's shot put on Monday. Deepa Malik became the first Indian woman ever to clinch a medal at the Paralympic Games when she bagged a silver in the shot put. F53 event. Deepa's best throw of 4.61 meters from her 6 attempts was enough to clinch the silver medal. She will receive a cash award of 4 crore rupees under the Haryana Sports Scheme for her feat. Deepa is a paraplegic, paralyzed from waist down, and mother of 2 and wife of an army officer. Life took a twist when a spinal tumor made walking impossible for her 17 years ago. Besides shot put, she has also won medals in swimming at international competitions. She holds the Asian record in javelin throw and also has World Championships silver medals in shot put and discus from 2011. Deepa's silver is India's 3rd medal of the Games after Mariyappan Thangavelu and Varun Singh Bhati won gold and bronze respectively in the men's high jump.
With all that difficulty, medication required, regular physiotherapy required, regular treatment required, repeated hospitalization required, repeated tumor disease, and yet working for 7 to 8 hours a day, getting a medal, the regular people are nowhere near them.
That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.